Few lines.
Check.
Iron thrusters.
Check.
Bad jokes.
Everything is fine and ready. Let's go check the dimensional stability of realities that have been long forgotten.
TF2 is soon 18 years old. Holy moly, where have the years gone? So with it being an old ass game with a very thriving modding community, there have been lots of community made game modes. And time is unforgiving, as some of these modes have been forgotten over time by the new and flashier modes like the V-script stuff we have these days. Be it some first iteration of zombies we have, or your weapons being on crack, you name it. So back in 2021 I made a video where I covered different forgotten less popular game modes. And while I consider it one of my better works from earlier years, it's a bit outdated, so I want to make a pseudo remake / continuation of it, so in here I'll go over some of the more forgotten game modes. And to make things spicier, I will include a scoring system on how dead the mode is. If the score is 10 out of 10, it means the mode is absolutely dead, but if it's 0 out of 10, it means while the mode is forgotten, it still has players playing on it. So before we do, I want to once again remind you all that I'm close to reaching 5k subs, and if you help me get there, I'll be making a special double crash maps video, so if you want to see that, make sure to blast that button with a minigun. This should be quite familiar to most older players, as this was really popular back in the early days of TF2. Balloon Race is a nearly 17-year-old game mode, and its idea is very unique. You race against the enemy team in blimps and capture the points. The mode was really popular back in 2010 to 2015, but since casual, most of the community servers started closing down, including the ones that host this. Luckily there are some servers that still have this map, but safe to say there are barely any players on them. So I guess I should explain a bit more how this plays out. Both teams have their blimps which have dispensers at the bottom, and each team must race to capture the 4 points, which include an island with a treasure chest, forgotten listening post, old revealing station and watchtower. If one team captures all the points, it's an instant win, but even if one point is captured by the other team, then it's a race to the finish line. I have to give this map a score of 8 out of 10, as while it's pretty much dead, there are still few people and servers hosting it. So before we had Zombie Infection, there was Zombie Fortress, and let me say straight, this mode is 10 out of 10 dead, as there are 0 servers hosting it. I'll try to explain it the best I can before I talk about its supposed remake. Red was survivors and blue was zombies. Both teams could have different perks, like survivors could move and shoot faster but deal less damage. Or with zombies you could spit acid that hurts survivors more they stand on it, kinda like how Sniper does in Infection. The maps this mode used to run are Asylum, where you must survive in a huge asylum, Nightmine, which is a Minecraft theme map, and of course Dust Bowl, which I made an entire video on last year. By the way, before we continue, can I just take a moment to show how terrifying the old zombie models were? Yeah, I am rather glad that Valve went with something less horrifying with their zombie skins. So what about its supposed remake, Super Zombie Fortress? It's basically this mode but without the perks and works very similar to Left 4 Dead, where the zombies work just like the special infected in that game and survivors need to find different weapons spread across the map. I managed to find one server that had some people playing on it on this heavily lit up version of CV Dust Bowl, which by the way was a very disappointing experience as it removed pretty much all the horror aspects from the map. I messed around for a bit and just kinda got bored, so for this mode it's 9 out of 10, as while there are some servers that still do run the mode, there are barely any players on it anymore. TF2 is a source mode that emulates the gameplay style of WarioWare games, you know, the games that have bunch of small minigames that you need to complete. It was brought to the public 12 years ago, and apparently the version I found was a new and improved version, and I was honestly expecting a fairly empty server, but to my surprise there were a lot of people playing it. It was honestly a lot of fun as well as doing rapid minigames back to back to try your best to get as many points as possible to win the game. Like there was a minigame where you needed to hug every scout, a special match round which was just horrible and getting to the end while avoiding rolling balls. So I guess the original one is 10 out of 10 dead as it stopped being updated, but for this new one it's a solid 0 out of 10 as the servers have a lot of people still playing. Times 10 is soon 13 years old and with it makes me feel old as well. It's a really fun game mode as it just throws all the balance out of the window as it either turns the already overpowered weapons into nightmare fuel, balanced weapons broken or bad weapons nearly unusable. Like Tomislav is normally quite balanced weapon, but for some reason it becomes absolutely broken in here. And don't get even me started on fucking Scorshot, which has largest splash radius, and of course can't forget the burst grenade launcher and airstrike Pekka's bazookas. So why is nobody playing this mode when it's pretty fun? The answer is simple. 1000 times exist. Why settle with a chaotic yet classic experience when you can just go even further beyond? Weapons that were somewhat usable in 10 times are now useless and weapons that were broken are, you guessed it, even more broken. Vanilla 10 times just doesn't attract people anymore and it's most of the time mixed with other game modes like Randomizer. So sadly, I have to give Vanilla 10 times a 9 out of 10 due to there being barely any people playing it. And for our final mode, I wish to talk about Death Run. While I'm not exactly sure when this was introduced to TF2, Game Banana started listing the maps for it 13 years ago, so I guess we go with that. It's also a mode that, while not as heavily played anymore, luckily still has a small dedicated player base to it. How the mode works is that the red team must survive through a gauntlet of traps while the blue must kill all the reds with different traps. It can be something simple like a dead pit, a bomb, or choosing which doorway lets you meet Jesus himself. And usually at the end of the course you have a few options like instant win, play a minigame where you must survive to the end to win the round, or just humiliate the one who pushes the buttons. Maps that you can expect while playing this mode is Death Run Horrors, which puts different horror movie tropes as traps, Death Run Office, which is just full of outdated memes from 2010 to 2012, and finally Safety First, which is a construction team map from at the time well known Gmod animator Dr. Face. He made some Gmod classics like Engineer Goes Fishing, Why Spies Don't Zap, and of course Rappy and Demo Revenge of the Ninja Spy. I'm happy to give this mode 3 out of 10 as it's still very much played to this day. And that's all for today. It was nice to take a look at different modes and make me say, back in my days we did not have V-script and we used to capture the boys with blimps. It's a bit of a shame that some modes here can't be played anymore or barely have any people playing them. But it's to be expected with a game this old. If this video does well, I'd be interested in doing part 2 covering more modes, as believe me there are lots of them. So like the video if you want to see that second part, comment down below your own experiences with this mode, subscribe for more source related content, and have a nice day.
Great job, Trash. The realities are stable, but I can't say the same about the people living in them. Let's head home and enjoy our good day's work.